Keto Chow presents Keto Flavors from Childhood. The number 2 pencil, 3 grams of carbs, but it's all fiber, so 0 net carbs. Hose water, 0 carbs, plus various other minerals and possibly a municipally acceptable level of lead. Booger, technically 0 carbs, also technically 0 nutritional value. PB&J. If you remove the bread and the sugar, you'll have 1.5 carbs. So that's what we did. And that's pretty great for reliving childhood nostalgia. And it's only from Keto Chow.
Whoops, forgot to take the April Fool's
Sure
slide
did.
off the front. I am Miriam, co-founder and COO of Keto Chow.
I'm Chris, also co-founder, president, and the technical guy who totally forgot to take that off. Anyway, April Fools, in case you didn't know. If you're brand new to Keto Chow, it's a nutritionally complete meal designed to make doing keto easy. We also have some electrolyte supplements that are amazing for everyday use and for keeping the dreaded keto flu away.
Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the little bell icon for
Daily updates.
all our Keto Chow happenings.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm not going to
So
say the rest.
okay, I'm going to take out, so I don't forget to do it again.
Okay.
Take that out, take that out. Great. Okay, so we got a bunch of people. Carrie says, I would get that if it's a real flavor. It's not. Betsy's here, so is Visual
Betsy.
Keto.
Hi, Visual Keto.
And Rita,
Hi,
Keto
Rita.
Life Granny, is here as well. Let's see, so is Rick Wynn.
Sorry.
Carrie says, Rachel must have had lots of coffee. She was traveling at light speed. I guess so. I don't think that makes you travel at light speed. Also, mass increases as velocity increases. So,
Nerd.
Becca says, good morning, everyone.
Hello.
Let's see. Dorothy is here. Mary Ain't J says, I've been using smaller portions of Keto Chow in my coffee some days for just the flavor. I had a
Nice.
half of vanilla and a half Irish cream that I decided needed to be a shake. First mixing attempt, light and yum. Nice. Carrie's on 66 days of no coffee or caffeine.
That's awesome.
Serious Keto
Okay.
posted his Serious Keto video podcast.
Okay.
He said, he starts off, he's like, well, I spent the last 15 minutes, because he's doing no coffee right now, and no
Okay.
caffeine. Serious Keto is. He's like, I spent the last 15 minutes recording outtakes, apparently. He was like bumbling through all of his sentences.
That's
And at the very
funny.
end, he shows some of those outtakes. It was pretty funny. Let's see. Becca says, I was wondering how long it's been for you, Carrie. That's great. Yeah. Did you know Serious Keto is doing caffeine-free as well? Let's see. People talking back and forth. Carrie tried pistachio on Saturday. It's his third favorite, following behind the first one, which is chocolate, peanut butter, and then chocolate.
Nice. I'm having pistachio for breakfast.
Is it? Did you figure out if it's pistachio or lime?
I'm pretty sure it is, because we don't have any lime at our house.
That's true.
So by process of elimination, I couldn't have made it.
Okay.
So that makes sense.
That's true. Well, I think we do have some lime in the cupboard.
I guess I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, maybe. Sky says, hola peeps, just listening this morning.
This guy.
Let's see. Carrie points out that they're not expiration dates, they are best buy dates.
Yes.
We actually found out the other day that the place that does our packaging can recertify it for longer. And so we might get some of the stuff that's expired and see if we can get it recertified for a 3-year.
You mean Best Buy?
Yeah, well, people call it expired. But so we might be able to extend the Best Buy date
Yep,
on some
we'll
of them.
see.
Yeah. Susan is here, working this week, and then off for 2 weeks for trip to Ireland. Ready to go, start packing this
Nice.
weekend.
This weekend,
As soon
we're
as we
gonna
get
do
done
our-
with Keto Salt Lake, we can start
I know.
packing.
Then I can start relaxing.
It's been interesting. We're in the home stretch for Keto Salt Lake.
Yeah,
and
we're
so
real
we've
close.
been getting stuff ready. Dorothy says, I'm still a coffee drinker and I can't find anything to put in it yet that I like other than my heavy whipping cream. I don't like sweet coffee, so Keto Chow, and it was just too sweet for me. Please don't add the chicken flavor to your coffee.
Yeah, that's probably gonna
That'd be
gross.
weird. John says, good morning, everyone. Trying to get into my coffee Keto Chow so I can keep up. Let's see. Dorothy says, I can sleep even right after drinking coffee and crash when I used to eat sugar. I'm opposite of many. I crashed hard last night.
Oh, I did not sleep
I
very
fell
good.
asleep like it was going out of style. So at night, roll over, I scratch Miriam's back, and then we roll over and she scratches my back, and then she's the big spoon and I'm the little spoon apparently. And then sometimes it takes a long time to fall asleep, and I was falling asleep when I was scratching your back, so I was.
Yeah, my back still itches, thanks.
Oh, sorry. Let me get that for you. Anyway, so, but then I woke up, I was telling the guys that I woke up at 3 this morning with my leg itching. Like, it itched like crazy, so much so that I was bumbling around in the dark to find
some cream or something?
Lotion, yes.
Lasagna.
It says with an L. I was finding some lotion to put on my leg so it would stop itching. My niece says, go Tar Heels. Let's see. Carrie says, good morning, Chris and Miriam. Okay, we're finally up to where we started. Shoshana says, good morning. Kathy is here. Wildzen said, Joe got his PB&J. Nope. That says Chris is probably laughing right now at him trolling us again. Let's see. Virginia is here. Lynn says, good morning. Let's see. Shana says, 11 days till Keto Salt Lake. Carrie says, I hit the like video. Remember, you have to hit it at an odd number of times. Dorothy says, talk about childhood memories. I chewed paint off too many pencils, and I had to go to the hospital from it. Is that what's still wrong with me?
What? That's crazy.
Jill says, I was on the wrong live stream thing. Mary's here. Debbie says, my April surprise chow box is out for delivery today. Because it's snowing. Well, that says good morning. Hi, Lynette. Mike says good morning. That still makes me smile. My surgery went well, still sore, but I had my first allowed shower this morning. It was lovely. I had gingerbread shake for breakfast.
Yes.
WCB is here. Carrie says, yes, Chris, I know about mass increasing with science. That's right. Huffnet's here. Says listening in while working. Have a fantabulous day.
Hello.
Say hi to the horses for us.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're working with the horses, but anyway. Let's see. J-Dog says, morning chowlings. Hope you're having a blessed week so far. Mary is here as well.
Hi,
Kathy
Mary.
says, good morning. Loving Keto Chow. Shauna says, good morning, Chris and Miriam. J-Dog is here also. Let's see. Betsy says, Dr. Barry posted his PDF of new book on labs. Haven't read it yet.
Oh, cool.
I saw that, but I didn't know that he had posted the PDF. Dorothy says, maybe I'll make a pistachio Keto Chow egg pudding instead of lemon like I was going to. That would be good.
Doesn't that sound yummy?
Mary just made some key lime. Rickman says, I'm still waiting for that book to come out for the public. Audrey says, is key lime better as a shake pudding or ice cream? Yes.
Yes.
I like them as both. I've had it more as a shake,
I like
though.
it all.
Yep. See, the thing is, I like to make it into stuff, all the different flavors, but there's a reason that we made Keto Chow, and it's because I'm just really lazy, and just making it as a shake works really well. Paula says I'm going to enjoy raspberry cheesecake creamy later today.
Nice.
JDX says yesterday was delicious Keto Chow day. Made chocolate Keto Chow waffles for breakfast and chocolate peanut butter creamy ice cream for dinner. Yum yum. Give me some more.
Yes.
We froze some chocolate Keto Chow creamy things. Took it over to my parents' house yesterday, and I unpacked their creamy that they had bought a while ago and showed my dad how to use it, and we had chocolate ice cream with peanuts in it.
Yeah, it was great.
For dinner out in the backyard. Let's see, Andrew says, I never really loved PB&Js, but after seeing your April Fools, I immediately went to my kitchen to make a Keto Chow made with strawberry and also chocolate peanut butter.
Was it good?
Nice.
Have you had it yet?
Natalie says, does the Irish cream taste like coffee? I don't like coffee. I don't like coffee either. The Irish cream, I think, has a stronger coffee flavor than the caramel macchiato, which the caramel macchiato to me tastes just like caramel popcorn. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it tastes like to me.
It does smell like coffee.
Yeah. Sandra says, what are some good ideas to flavor vanilla Keto Chow for ice cream? Cherry syrup,
Yeah.
peanut flour,
Cocoa
powder, like
peanut
some
flour.
blueberries. You just
Blueberries.
put it all in there.
That'd be yummy. You could do 3 blueberries in a whole Keto Chow and then freeze it, and it would be perfect.
Bonnie says, since watching you guys, I've been getting commercials for Truvani shakes.
Oh, no.
Their Mother Nature one reminds me of yours, quality and humor. I wonder if they use the same people as you use. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll have to look those up. You'll also want to look at the ingredients too. We've never heard of them. Typically, if it's a keto shake, we've heard of it.
Truvani.
How do you spell it?
Truvani.
Sometimes we've learned this in advertising. If you can target other people's company names, and so they could just be targeting with our name.
Let's see. Lynn is here, and Blue Dove. Floyd says, good morning, everyone. Rickwin says, hello, also. Emma says, trying the snickerdoodle this morning.
Nice. I like snickerdoodle as waffles.
Jing says that Dr. Perry's PDF is released for Patreons only.
Oh, that makes sense.
Nice.
Thank you.
Alan says, good morning. Blue says, I take daily minerals daily, split into 2 doses, and a full dose of mag drops at night. But still have a bad cramp in my calf last night stretching in bed.
Yes.
Can the mag drops be applied topically? It could.
Yeah, it could. It's a little bit sticky, but I would just take a little bit more.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing with magnesium is because our bodies so tightly regulate blood levels of magnesium, it's actually impossible to tell whether topical application of magnesium has any effect or not. Dr. Barry was talking about
and it
this.
hasn't actually
He thinks
been
that it does
tested either.
But it's one of those things that they would actually have to, you would have to apply it, and then they would have to like take a chunk of skin out to see if it actually absorbed.
And nobody's willing to do that.
Nobody's willing to do that. So there's no actual information on whether topical magnesium has any effect or not. I think that it does, but I don't know. Emma says, I got my variety box the other day, super excited.
Nice.
Oh, Randy's making a bunch of gummies.
That's awesome.
Betsy says, I missed who you said was working with horses. That's Hoofing It.
What?
Bow chicka bow.
I'm going to get this phone call.
You should put yourself on mute.
Okay.
So
I just push the button?
you should just push the button, and it should have a slash through the thing. You might want to answer it, though.
I didn't. Oh, I did. It is muted.
Okay.
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 Thanks.
Answer it before they go away. Anyway, Michael says, what about a butterscotch flavor or butter rum? Think Lifesavers. That would be interesting. Did they hang up? Or is it just an automated?
You got this one already?
Oh, okay. Let's see. Kathy says caramel macchiato is my favorite. Let's see if yours is working now.
Okay. Is it working now?
Seems to be. Andrew says, I have to have the PB&J Keto Chow, and it was yummy. Oh, I have had the PB&J. Debbie says, I agree that the Irish cream was a coffee or more stronger coffee taste. Let's see, Carrie says, I typed in Keto Chow because I was curious on Amazon since I'll be getting a gift card from donating platelets, and the savory flavors were on there. Yes, they are.
There are more than the savory flavors on there.
Yes.
So if you want the savory flavors, they are on there. But if you want the sweet flavors, they're also on there.
Now, Bonnie says Truvani uses pea protein. Now, that's an interesting thing with, I'm not going to get too much into this. Dr. Peter Ballerstedt, Ballerstedt, has more information on this. But one of the problems with protein content, when you look at, say, a can of beans, you get a can of refried beans, and you look at the protein content. The figure that they have on there is they take the amount of nitrogen that's in it and assume that all of the nitrogen that is in the stuff is in amino acids, and all of the amino acids are in protein. That's a pretty big assumption. And when you get a plant protein that just comes from plants, that isn't necessarily correct. And there's some stuff that's being done now where they're creating adjusted numbers for the actual amount of protein that humans can digest from plant proteins. And depending on the source, it can be as low as, say, 40%, or as high as maybe 60 or 70%. On the other hand, when you get like a protein that comes from an animal, it's like 98, 99%. And so when people go on a plant-only diet and they use, say, pea protein or soy protein, things like that, when they think that they're getting X amount of protein, that's not necessarily true, and they can be getting a significantly lower amount of protein than they think that they're getting. And also, based on the information that Dr. Ballerstedt has provided, the majority of people in the world are getting the majority of their protein from wheat, which is also an inferior source of protein. We get the question a lot of times, hey, are you ever going to make a plant, well, they say based, But what they mean is a plant-only version of Keto Chow. We don't plan on doing that. And that's a lot of that comes down to the quality of the protein and the quality of the nutrition. When those revised methods for calculating protein numbers get more standardized, I think it's going to wake a lot of people up to the inequality of plant protein to animal protein.
Do you think they'll ever get them?
I don't know. They say that they're going to do it because it's a serious problem, especially in the developing world, for people being malnourished, especially women and girls are chronically malnourished with protein in the developing world. And it's the people who least or who most need protein are the ones that are most susceptible to it and the most impacted by protein malnutrition. And yet, and in the reports that Dr. Ballerstedt provides, you have the World Health Organization advocating for less use of animal proteins and more use of plant proteins. But then when you look in the notes and in the appendix, there's actually this thing that says that plant proteins are an inferior source of protein and will not supply the right amount of protein for people in developing countries, and that more animal proteins need to be used. It's like, wait, there's a disconnect here. If I remember correctly, now that I'm on a tirade and going on and on about this, if we go to ketosaltlake.com,
Okay.
we scroll down past all the current people, past the schedule for Keto Salt Lake, which is now live,
because
by the way.
Because it's next week.
Yeah. Did you notice that Dave Feldman's and Dr. Westman's titles are there?
Yay.
Here you have the 2021 presentations. So these are all the presentations that were done for Keto Salt Lake. The top one is the combined presentations where it was all just put together in one big one. And if you watch that, you can actually see the comments coming in from people and stuff like that. But Dr. Ballerstedt has this presentation here. I'll just go ahead and click on that and grab the link. He talks about a lot of that in this presentation. So if anything that I've said right there is like, whoa, that's interesting, please check out his presentation. So anyway, pea protein. All right, now that I've gone on and on about that, Lisa says I use magnesium spray for cramps at night and it relieves the cramp immediately. I believe in it. See, I absolutely agree that topical application of magnesium probably works.
Yeah, the problem is it hasn't been proven.
Yeah, there's no clinical evidence that says that it does.
Because why would you take magnesium baths? Because they make you feel so good. Like, it wouldn't make you feel better if it didn't work.
Yep. Rita says, is there a way to not have stuff set via USPS? Every order so far has been slow coming. Currently waiting for my mag drops and the tracker isn't telling me where they are. So you can select other methods. The free ground shipping option, we just use the cheapest method to send out the stuff. We were actually looking at that today. The free shipping, 10% of the amount of money that comes in, we pay for shipping. It's really expensive.
Yeah, we're actually watching, well, I overheard for a few minutes yesterday.
The free shipping thing that I was watching with Max?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a TV show, YouTube, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That was talking
CNBC?
about, people don't necessarily know that free shipping isn't actually free.
Yes.
So it's either put into the price that the consumer pays or the seller has to just take it as a hit. So that's something that Amazon made everybody have to do. I mean, not really, but seems like it.
Randy says a rabbit mold for the gummies would fit the Easter theme. Nice.
Yes.
Exchange Student is here. Let's see. Dorothy says that's the only ones I could find locally so far. Debbie wants PB&J to be a real flavor. That would be crazy cool.
Ew.
Dorothy says, thanks. I was looking at the magnesium spray for leg cramps, and it's also made with magnesium chloride. So I wondered if I could just use that. Yeah, and a lot of the magnesium oils aren't actually magnesium oil. What it is it's magnesium, usually magnesium chloride mixed with a little bit of water. So it's very, very concentrated magnesium. They call it magnesium oil, but it's just magnesium chloride in an aqueous solution.
Okay.
Anyway, Susan says, yeah, hoofnit could also mean they're walking, literally. That's true.
Walking.
Shauna says hoofnit is mostly a cyclist. She uses her feet. For sure, they do have a good amount of animals, too. Betsy says, good morning from Blackfoot, Idaho.
Hi,
again.
Betsy.
Taking care of Meg's dogs. Nice.
Yeah, how's Meg doing?
Let's see. Keto Life Grinding reminds everybody to hit the like button.
Thank you.
Karen says, ordered more snickerdoodle. Love it so much. Reminds of my mama's rice pudding. There was a funny
so nice.
TikTok video yesterday. These two people, they're trying out different, so it's this lady, other lady, they've been trying out different flavors of Keto Chow. One of them mixed it up and the other one doesn't know what it is.
Oh.
And so the one who doesn't know what it is popped it open and she's like, I don't like that smell. And then she tried it. And she's like, it's snickerdoodle. I love it.
That's funny.
It is really funny.
That's awesome.
Jennifer says, I had gastric bypass. I don't absorb plant protein. So Keto Chow works good for me. No issues, and I have a good amount of protein in my blood work.
Yay.
That's fantastic.
I'm so glad. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Chris, speaking of snickerdoodle, that's what Chrissy Davis is having this morning.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Hey, Peter Ballerstedt is actually here.
We were just talking about you.
He says, preach it, brother. The first time I ever heard Dr. Ballerstedt was on the Two Keto Dudes
Peter, you
podcast.
should have seen him. He was geeking out. He was like,
there's
this guy.
I made my children listen to it as we were driving through the middle of Utah.
That was the second time because you had me listen to it.
Oh,
And
yeah?
then you had the kids listen to it.
It was interesting stuff, and it bears repeating because so many people in the keto space get worried about the environmental impact of eating cows and beef. And you have a lot of people who keep talking about that eating beef is going to destroy the environment. And eating beef is really high in, climate impact, and eating beef this and eating beef that, and you should only eat plants. But then you have the other people who are doing it in more of a sneaky way, and they're like, oh, it has to be grass-fed beef. It has to be organic eggs. It has to be this. And so they're targeting more of you have to have this really good stuff, and if you can't have the good stuff, then you should just eat plant foods. And it's like, no. The regular beef is the original superfood. I mean, it's so much better to eat regular beef, just conventional ground beef. Somebody I can't remember who it was saying that they were having Keto Chow and a pound of ground beef today.
That sounds amazing.
Like, great, I want a pound of ground beef.
Me too.
Anyway, and that's why we keep on having Dr. Ballerstedt come back to Keto Salt Lake, because it's so important that people understand that animal foods are not the enemy. And really, the big problem with animal foods is people not eating enough of them. Anyway, I'm going to get off my high horse and let Dr. Ballerstedt ride that one off into the sunset. Jade Alex says, animal protein rocks. Raquel says, love coffee. I guess I may need to try Irish cream. Let's see. Peter Ballerstedt says, yes. Beth says, doing the Keto Chow and Beef Challenge. You speak his name and he appears.
Yeah.
Lynn says, and yet they say that 2030 will be post-meat and no more meat for food. Okay.
I hope not.
Let me... I know I said I wouldn't get on my high horse anymore, but let's see.
Keep there.
Keto Chow.
I'm just gonna smile.
Mobile.
How do you spell?
Bioreactors. If I didn't spell that right.
Here's
There it is. Okay.
A geeky podcast that Chris wrote a long time ago.
This is a geeky blog post.
Geeky.
Okay. There is talk right now about using bacteria to create fake meat and fake milk.
Right.
The thing about doing that is that there's already these really cool bioreactors that can take plant matter and turn it into milk and other quality proteins. And it's called a cow or a goat or things like that. So this post, it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but it basically outlines all of the stuff that cows are. Like, wouldn't it be cool if we had these things that could go around and convert stuff, and you could even make them self-replicating and ambulatory and all this other stuff, and that's what cows are. And it's a total red herring that cows are bad for the environment. Anyway. Okay. Alan says, does the protein or lack of it have a tie to culture's height and size? Probably. Natalie wants to know, does Irish cream have coffee in it? It's like 0.1 grams.
Oh, yes, in the natural flavoring.
We thought that it didn't. We're working on getting a version of it that tastes exactly the same, that has 0.000 grams. But yeah, it does have a little bit. So does the so does the caramel macchiato. Drea says, as long as you don't have protein in your pee, that's always a bad thing. Yes, it is.
Yeah, that is a bad thing.
Eddie's here. Let's see, Bessie says, please, keep going on and on. Karen likes the background. That's from our house. Our house is right below my belly button.
It sure is.
Carrie says, that's funny that when I have it shipped ground, the USPS is faster than the rest of the carriers here in Texas.
Yeah.
Joanne says, good morning, everyone. Carrie says, I get Keto Chow wicked fast with free shipping. Lynn says, I'm going to be in Las Vegas during the Salt Lake event. I thought about trying to get to Salt Lake, but it's a little too far of a drive.
Oh, but
it's like 7 hours.
6 hours.
Yeah.
So close.
Carrie wants a grilled cheese flavor of Keto Chow. Susan says, loving the nerd mornings. Betsy says, I hope you're not thinking of going back to charging for shipping. I don't know. Kim says, used powdered butter as my fat source in my shake today, and it was so creamy.
Nice.
Now, one thing to be aware, using a powdered fat is awesome, especially if it fits with what you're doing, but do be aware it does cost more. It has more carbohydrates than using the equivalent. So if just adding water works for you, just be aware that it does cost more and it has more carbs in it.
Yep, and that reminds me of what Joe and Rachel were talking about this morning with the whole tracking. Part of tracking is allowing yourself to be more honest with yourself. I think it's really, really easy to say, oh, I had butter powder, it's the same as butter, and then it's this amount of carbs, but really it's a little bit more. And I think that's something we need to work on. Like, I try to be an honest person. Well, why is it that I have such a hard time being honest with myself? And it's like, just one more thing of nuts and that's, it's just one handful of nuts, not 2 handfuls of nuts.
That's why, I remember when I started keto, I would get almonds and I would weigh them out an ounce at a time and put them into bags. Now it's like you walk past, grab a handful, it's like, no, that's the wrong way to do it.
Yep. So you got to weigh them out in bags again.
Dorothy says, my shipments for Keto Chow seem to arrive a day earlier than the beginning estimated ship date. That's awesome. Peter says, quality parenting. Yes, it is. Shauna says, I'm looking forward to hearing Dr. Ballerstedt in person.
Yes.
Lisa says, speaking of snickerdoodle, I had snickerdoodle mixed with banana yesterday for lunch.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
That's the banana bread. J. Alex says, eating beef is going to destroy the planet is a red herring from the vegan Nazis. I'm not going to disagree with you on that one. Lynn says, I love my beef and I'm not giving it up. Audrey says, just as long as you end on an odd number for the likes. That's right.
Right.
Gary says, Dr. Livingood always says that you have to have organic, and he's always saying that it's what the cow eats. I just have to shake my head. Well, and that's one thing that Dr. Ballerstedt points out is that because, for those of you who don't know, cows do not eat grass. They ingest grass. They do not get any nutrition from the grass. The grass first goes through a single-celled organism that converts that grass into stuff that the cow actually eats. So the bacteria has byproducts, and then the cows actually digest the bacteria. It's a ruminant because they have a rumen, and it's the whole different sections of their stomach and things like that. And so the question comes up a lot. Does Roundup, glyphosates, does that impact meat or milk? Well, because it's going through that chemical process of it's broken down by the single-celled organisms and then converted into stuff, ruminants are less affected by what they eat and the quality of the food that they eat than monogastrics like pigs and chickens and humans. Ruminants actually have this really cool trick that they will take low quality protein. Remember we were talking earlier about the pea protein isn't as good, it's not as available, and it doesn't have all the proteins in it. They actually take that protein and turn it into, it's greater than 100%. They upcycle the protein content. Really cool trick. Cows literally generate wealth. Not only for, like they're literally handing out dollar bills. And if you can get a ruminant, a cow, into the hands of someone in a developing country, it generates wealth. There's this really funny old video called Johnny Lingo. It's set on this island. Anyway, if you can find the 1960 version of Johnny Lingo, it is hilarious, but it's about this girl, and the dad comes to, this guy comes to negotiate with a dad for his daughter, and they're talking about how she's so ugly, she has a face like a rock, and she's always unkempt, and she's going to be lucky if the dad's going to be lucky.
Fetch a chicken.
Yeah, or a cow with 3 hooves. And Johnny Lingo shows up, and he offers 8 cows for Mahana.
Because she's worth it.
Yeah, well, it turns out he's always known that she was an 8-cow wife.
Because they were friends when they were kids.
And it's just a really, really funny, cute show.
Little show.
Very cute.
But yeah, because cows
generate wealth.
Are wealthy. Like you had a lot of money if you had a lot of cows.
Peter says, no, you're doing just fine. Kathy says, ride your cow off into the sunset. Let's see. Carrie says, I lived in Charleston, South Carolina for 19 years. Came back home in 2010.
Nice.
John says, watching Chris Bear. Jerry Duck says, Chris on his high horse. Yeah, right.
Just can't get off
I'm
today.
allergic to horses.
Yeah, and cows.
Sean says, watching Chris Bear fanboy is funny. It is. And I remember when we first got to meet Dr. Ballerstedt?
Yeah.
It was at KetoCon 2018, I think it was. Cheryl says, first time trying chocolate
now
toffee.
We're tight.
It's my new favorite.
Oh, good.
Chocolate toffee is delicious.
I love chocolate toffee.
Carrie says, why do they want to keep messing with our food?
I don't know.
A lot of it is they want to reduce the population of the earth. A lot of it is, I don't know what they're, and I actually asked Dr. Ballerstedt with the whole WHO, which I always say, who? The WHO report on, where it has that footnote. I'm like, where is the disconnect on this? You have part of them saying you have to have animal protein, and the other half is saying you need more plant protein. And it's like, where's the disconnect? He's like, I don't know. Shauna says cow tongue in cheek. Les says, I seriously love all this nerd talk. Keep it coming. Christy says, I wish they would stop creating fake meat. If you really want meat, eat meat. If you don't want to eat meat, then don't. And it really is funny to me that cows literally are the best way to take plant matter and convert it into a high quality protein. It's like they were designed that way. Whether it's evolution or not, I don't know of a more efficient way of converting it. And you drive around, if you've ever been to the western United States, like Utah and Arizona and Nevada, if you're from the eastern United States and where it's all lush and green and everything like that, you get out into the middle of Utah and there's nothing. There's just grass.
Just a field
and it's
of grass.
dry.
And it's brown.
And whenever I hear people complaining that, oh yeah, cows are competing with humans for food, I'm like, you're
not going to live out there. Nobody lives out there.
Well, and that actually, let's see, this guy. This is how America uses its land. This is linked in that bioreactor thing. This is basically the pasture and rangeland, all this stuff in yellow. You literally cannot grow anything except for ruminants in that area. The cropland, yes, you can, but the yellow area, and this is what it looks like if you stick it all together.
Right.
So all of this section over here, You cannot. In the forest land as well, you can grow ruminants in the forest area and in the pasture and rangeland. You cannot grow crops. It is not suitable for any sort of farming other than ruminants.
That's why we have to water our crops, because we don't have any water.
But it's a really interesting, here you have food we eat, livestock feed, idle fallow, other grain exports, wheat exports. It's just fascinating, this map. So there you got cow pasture and range. Great. Private family, timberland, livestock feed, food we eat, Weyerhaeuser. Anyway.
Weyerhaeuser?
Yeah, they do paper production.
Oh,
they grow trees and
Oh, they're trees.
They grow that much and
And make them into paper.
Blue says, my daughter told me lab-grown meat should be okay for vegans because no animals were harmed in the harvesting the few cells to clone. Here's the thing. If that is your concern, then you have to completely ignore the toll, the blood that is shed during the harvesting of crops. Because there's a lot of it.
Oh, like animals and stuff.
The animals that are killed during harvesting is just insane.
That means that they can't actually eat anything.
Unless they harvest it themselves.
They could have water.
Shelley says, can you make the coffee flavors with coffee instead of water work without being too much caffeine?
Yeah.
Depends on what your tolerance for caffeine is, but you can absolutely use coffee
for
the water component. Yeah,
it's
Shauna
a great
does
idea,
that.
Shelley.
Carrie says, Chris will have to get his ladder for his high horse. Yes, I will. Because it's not a quarter
15 hands
horse.
high.
Yeah. I still think it's funny that we measure horses in hands. And I think it is 4 inches to a hand, but anyway. Alan says, I used chocolate Keto Chow in the protein muffins I made last week, and it came out great. Mike says, looking forward to hearing Dr. Ballerstedt at Keto Salt Lake.
Did you know when you scuba dive, everybody looks really huge?
Yeah, there's a magnification.
I was thinking about this because our instructor is really small, and every time she's down to the water, I'm like, your hands look so large. And I'm like, oh, what do my hands look like to you? Like,
we also discovered that you're not supposed to donate blood 48 hours before you go scuba diving.
I'm so sad.
So we can donate after we get back.
Well, we're supposed to go on Wednesday, and we're supposed to go scuba on
Friday and Saturday.
To do our actual certification, which I think we might pass.
I think so.
I think so. Maybe. We'll see. And I'm supposed to donate blood on Thursday, so I have to cancel. I'm so mad about it.
Eddie says, I just saw that Costco has the Ninja Creamy on sale right now for $135.
What?
That's amazing.
Yes.
Raquel says, is Keto Chow vegetarian? So that depends on your definition of vegetarian. So the milk protein, nothing's harmed in the making of that. So the vitamin D comes from lanolin, which is from wool. There are some single-celled organisms that are used for the production of the vitamin K. Generally speaking, most people would consider it vegetarian, except for the beef protein versions.
Oh, yes.
Those are actually made from beef protein that's been powdered. But the regular sweet flavors of Keto Chow, probably. Dorothy says, I've been using a 1/4 cup of cashews. Almost out and trying not to buy anymore. Cashews are, I cannot do cashews.
I'm glad you've been measuring those out. Chris has a weakness for cashews,
I have a weakness.
So we have not bought them in a million years.
Because 1 cashew is too many, and 3 handfuls is not enough.
Yeah.
Bonnie says, I made a mocha shake this morning and used butter powder in coffee as a liquid.
Nice.
Susan says, see, nerd morning, gotta love it.
Yes.
Liz says, yeah, it really blew me away that cows actually subsist off mostly saturated fat despite eating grass.
Yep.
Peter says, close enough, Chris. See, and this is why I usually defer to Dr. Ballerstedt. Liz says, one of the cow's stomach's rumen is responsible for the fermentation process that converts pasture into milk precursors. Yeah, they don't eat, Anyway, Karen says bypass in August 2020, December 2020 intestinal surgery due to bypass. December 2021 intestinal surgery again. Wow, Keto Chow is a lifesaver. I love that it stays down. Meat doesn't stay down. Wow.
I'm sorry, Karen. I'm glad that you can have something to eat.
Carol's here.
Carol, hi.
John says, what a weird place to come back to the conversation. Randy says, Chris, squirrel. Anyway, let's see. J-Dog says, Johnny Lingo. Wasn't he one of the cowboys in Tombstone?
That's right.
No, that was Johnny Ringo.
Nope.
AG says, I love coffee and heard Serious Keto suggest making the macchiato with coffee instead of water. Would this be overkill on caffeine? It might be. Shauna says, wait, did Chris just kind of say they're messing with our food to kill us off?
Well,
I don't know
know.
their actual. I think some of them are doing it. They literally believe that they're trying to help the planet by recommending that people not eat meat based on other information that people have given us. But the people who actually know that what they're saying is not true, I don't understand what their motivation is.
It's that whole trying to be honest with yourself. Sometimes you know
Yep.
it, but you still can't say it because you want to please someone else.
Yep. Susan says, and grazing animals get to eat all day. Yep. Whether it's they're ingesting the grass or they're just eating the bacteria. Karen says, thanks to everyone. It's a journey. That clock is 5 minutes fast.
Yep.
Kim says, I'm learning so much this morning and loving it. Make sure you watch Dr. Ballerstedt stuff because, again, he articulates it way better than I do. Susan says, I feel so sorry for the dogs who gobble their food down in 1 minute due to their jaws that don't chew.
Oh.
Peter says, now I have to change my presentation. No, you don't. Oh, Peter says, lab grown equals high antibiotic and hormone use to keep cultures pure and functional.
Yeah. And
wouldn't it be better to just have an animal?
And yet they're like, you can't use antibiotics. And like, just kidding, here's some antibiotics for you.
Yeah. Susan says, I don't weigh enough to donate blood. Andrew says, why aren't you going to the Keto Summit Orlando? We actually haven't decided whether we're going or not.
I think we might.
I think we might just go
want to go.
as attendees
Yep.
and enjoy it. Because we like to do that every
We
once
would
in a while.
like to go to every single conference because we love them so much.
We do have these children that need us.
But we need to, yeah. And so it's like trying to decide like how much we're willing to sacrifice our time with our kids for our time with our keto peeps. So we have to kind of have a little balance there.
Lynn corroborates that. Yeah, 4 inches to a hand when you're measuring horses. So you just measure it in inches and divide by 4, and I don't know why. It's the same reason we measure wood. Firewood is in cords. A cord is a stack of split wood, well stacked, that is 4 feet tall, 4 feet wide, and 8 feet long. Talk about an arbitrary measurement. It's not because it's not weight, because wood has different weight based on whether it's green or not, whether it's been seasoned. So, I mean, how else do you measure firewood? Arbitrary. Jerry says, I'm an indirect vegetarian. Cows eat grass. I eat cows, therefore I eat grass. Yes, it's a what's it called? Fermented food. People talk about how fermented food is so amazing.
It is. It's good for you.
Gary says cashews are in the register since they're in the cash register. Yeah. Carol says peely nuts are the best. Macadamia nuts are next. Yes, I would agree with that statement.
Too. Peely nuts taste like butter.
Jared, let's see. JX says, I love cashews. I like to get those individual packets from Costco, peanuts, almonds, and cashews in single-serve packets. Helps me with overindulging in nuts I love to eat. Yeah, if I remember correctly, like 1 ounce of cashews, which is 28 grams, is like 6 carbs.
Yeah.
It's not the worst. It's also not the best. Chrissy says, vegans have unusually high levels of infertility compared to the regular public.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Tony says, question, if beef is so good, why do we eat so much bacon? Because it's delicious.
Delicious.
That's why. And Christy says, because bacon tastes amazing. And
You know what you should do? Wrap bacon around your beef.
What?
So good.
And that is an interesting point that we're actually caught up on comments. This is something that Dr. Ballerstedt, we're back to him again, points out, is that a lot of times people will say, you need to eat grass-fed beef because it has a higher omega-3 ratio. Okay. Ratios, that's not really a good way to measure stuff because you're not talking about absolute terms. So how many grams of omega-3s does it have? Beef is not a good source of omega-3s. If you want
omega-3s, have some fish.
Yes. And if you want, and so when you talk about ratios of omega-3s, you're talking about omega-6 to omega-3. Omega-6, 9, 3, those are all polyunsaturated fats, which oxidize fairly rapidly. And the reason why we talk about omega-3 ratios is because the general public eats way too much omega-6. You find that in peanut oil, you find that in canola oil, soybean oil. They talk about that because they want us to reduce the amount of omega-6. not eat more omega-3, it's reduce the omega-6.
But they don't say it that way, and so
Because you can't tell people
confusing.
to reduce omega-6 because then you would reduce the amount of seed oils that you're eating. And that's, you can't
we do
mess
not
with
want
seed
to
oils.
eat seed oils.
Because seed oils are heart healthy. Anyway, they're not. So when you talk about a ratio of omega-3s, they talk about grass-fed beef having a better ratio. The problem is there's not a lot of omega-3s or omega-6 in grass-fed beef, or any beef for that matter. And when you really get down to it, if you eat pork or chicken, there is a higher amount of polyunsaturated fats in both of those. And the amount of omega-6 that you get from eating bacon or eating chicken wings or any of that pretty much blows away
Anything you
months
get from
and
beef.
months of eating grass-fed beef. So if you're concerned, and I do know, I think it's Rhonda. Rhonda doesn't eat, I think it's Rhonda, doesn't eat chicken or pork because of the omega-6 and eats grass-fed beef because of the lower omega-6.
Okay. I don't know if it's Rhonda, but that's okay.
Yeah, it might have been Blue Dove too. Anyway, but and I can respect that. But if you're, don't eat grass-fed beef because, and then eat pork if you're trying to reduce your omega-6 is what I'm trying to get to.
Or you can just eat fish.
Yeah, or you can just enjoy some pork and not worry about it and mostly eat beef. And that's fine. Jack says, where 2 or 3 are gathered in a quart of firewood, Honda, you decide. Right. Carol says, Miriam, it was when you stated that peeling nuts tasted like little bits of butter that I had to get some.
Yeah,
they
they're
are
so
delicious. Good. Dorothy says, I'm a bacon-holic. Steve says, crispy bacon is the best. And remember, if you take bacon and twist it, you can fit more on the cookie sheet to bake it, and then you can have purse bacon.
Yep.
Or pocket bacon. Dennis says, Real Salt store sells peeling nuts. Yep, they have the highest fat and they taste like butter.
Yes.
Sherry says, we make moink balls, bacon-wrapped meatballs, then put in the smoker. Peter says, or grind bacon with the beef. Right?
What? Great idea.
Lynn says, cue the science class with Mr. Bear. Oh, we passed that a long time ago. Lisa says, loving it on keto, made a chocolate and peanut butter covered bacon.
Nice.
Gotta love it. Susan says, I ate flaxseed crackers, Food Alive brand for my omega-3. Now, just to be aware that the omega-3 that's in flax is ALA. In meat, you get EPA and DHA.
So they're all omega-3s.
Yeah, and there's also a, dang it, Peter, you gotta get me here. There's also some omega-3s that aren't really well understood in beef. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, ALA, the stuff that you get from plants, has to be converted into EPA and DHA. And depending on your particular genetics, it can be anywhere from single digits to 10 or 15%, you know, like 3 to 15% efficiency converting ALA into the other ones. So getting ALA omega-3s, it's not bad. It's not quite as good as getting EPA and DHA.
You know what's a good idea, though?
Yeah, what's that?
Speaking of those letters.
What's that?
Take your flax crackers and put some fish on it. And then eat it. Wouldn't that be yummy?
Smoked herring or smoked salmon. Kippered snacks.
With some salt?
Yes.
That
Do
sounds
that.
amazing.
Then you're just covered. Let's see. Betsy says, I so appreciate when you give us so much of your time. We actually have a meeting in just a couple minutes.
Okay.
Steve says, what are acceptable sweeteners in your view? Steve with Serious Keto had a really interesting video podcast today where he talked about a study that came out which is correlating some artificial sweeteners with a possible increased risk of cancer in an observational epidemiological study, which basically is garbage. Personally, I prefer sucralose or allulose are my 2 favorite ones.
They taste good.
Any other sweetener, I try not to use as much. But that's me.
If you have a berry or two here and there, they're really sweet.
A berry? Yeah.
Yeah.
Jenna says, I made the most delicious pork belly in my air fryer last night. Melt in your mouth. Pork belly is awesome. Jenna says, fun fact, it was actually called a cooking sheet, not a cookie sheet. As I told my parents last night, I saw a thing, how do you make cooking sheets shiny? Step 1, take your old cookie sheet. Step 2, throw it away and buy a new one. WCB says, I limit myself to one meal a week of pork or chicken because of the omega-6.
Oh.
Kathy says, this has been a very nerdy morning. Yes, it has.
Yeah.
Then it says conjugated linoleic acid, Chris. It might have been. Oh, DPA, not just in beef.
There you go.
Yeah, DPA is one that they don't talk a lot about. Dorothy says, I fold my bacon in half like ketogenic women and living on keto and crisp in the oven on parchment paper, light and pan. Get twice as much crisp at a time and easy to retrieve the liquid gold.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Blue says, kippers are yummy. Carrie says, ALA has to be converted into the body, and that isn't easy. The same thing happens with beta carotene, which used to show up just as vitamin A, and now they're doing retinol equivalency factor.
Yeah.
So vitamin A from beta carotene is not a good source of vitamin A.
Okay.
American Library Association. Okay, well, we need to go.
Okay.
We actually have that meeting that we need to go to. Hey, everybody, thanks so much for joining us. Yeah, there's only there's like 12 more days until Keto Salt Lake.
So if you want to change your mind and come, if you haven't, there's still some tickets left.
Indeed. You all have a fantastic day, and we will catch you later.
Bye.